the thing, though, an assault weapons ban. Like, they should let them do it. Let them pass it, because here's what's going to happen. And they know it, and they're playing with fire here. If they pass a federal assault weapons ban, the Supreme Court, you can look at the precedent that they set under the Bruen ruling this year. The Bruen ruling basically said that Bruen ruling and the DC versus Heller ruling both stated that firearms in common use are protected under the Second Amendment. Well, you talk about how AR-15s are rampant on our streets and we can't control them and they're everywhere. Well, that sounds like common use to me. They also stated the historical relevance of firearm ownership. Sinuses are bugging me today. They cited the historical relevance of firearm ownership. The AR-15 is the modern-day musket. Clarence Thomas all but said it. So yeah, go ahead and ban assault weapons, because do you know what's going to happen if you pass a federal ban on assault weapons? I'll give you a little hint. If you pass a federal ban on assault weapons, it's going to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's going to strike it down. And do you know what's going to happen when the Supreme Court strikes down a federal ban on assault weapons? Every state that already had one in place, that it hadn't been escalated to the Supreme Court yet, every state, California, Colorado, Illinois, Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Delaware, we can go on and on. Maryland, every single state, Washington, D.C., every single state that had one in place up until now is going to lose it. You're going to be able to buy an AR-15, an AK-47 at Walmart in California. Let's do it. Let's call their bluff. I'm all for it. Let's do it, because it'll suck for a little bit, and it'll suck for the person that has to go to jail to file that lawsuit. It's going to pay dividends in the long run. DC's already caved. They had magazine limits on how much you could carry, now that the Supreme Court, after Bruen, stated that they couldn't ban concealed carry permits. They had bans on how much you could carry. Dick Heller, from DC versus Heller, took that to court, and instead of, fighting it, DC withdrew their case. They said, we'll go change the law, because they knew that the precedent that would be set would be much more would be much more of a deterrent to them than simply repealing the law, because they knew what the judge would rule, and they knew that all of their other gun control would then be repealed. So they're like, you know what? We'll repeal it ourselves. We'll drop the court case. It's all good.